Tonight, packing the court.
Democracy is in jeopardy.
Democrats unveil their plan to overhaul the Marble Palace, adding 4 more judges to the 9 on the Supreme Court.
That a clear majority of Americans oppose packing the Supreme Court.
Plus, ending the nation's longest war.
If they're licking their chops, they would be dancing. They just don't believe in dancing.
Why some Republican senators say the Taliban is the biggest winner in Afghanistan. And
there's a dirty little secret in this town.
Skyrocketing national debt and wasteful spending, laid out in the annual Pig Book. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Democrats to push to expand the U.S. Supreme Court. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder. A group of House and Senate Democrats have introduced legislation to expand the Supreme Court from 9 to 13 members. If successful, this would be the first change in the makeup of the court in 150 years. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener is here with the latest. Tara?
Jenna, Republicans are pushing back hard against adding 4 more seats to the court, and some top Democrats aren't behind it either. Less than a week after President Biden unveiled plans for a commission to study changes at the Supreme Court, congressional Democrats introduced legislation to expand the bench.
The Republicans stole 2 seats on the Supreme Court, and now it is up to us to repair that damage. Our democracy is in jeopardy.
Conservatives hold the majority after President Trump's appointment of Justice Amy Coney Barrett to replace late liberal icon Ruth Bader Ginsburg, likely cementing the conservative tilt of the court for decades. Sponsors of the bill insist the move is justified and fair.
But nowhere in the Constitution is it written just how many justices should sit on the Supreme Court.
But the bill faces an uphill battle in the evenly divided Senate, even among fellow Democrats.
They'd have to change the filibuster rule, and I don't think Democrats, there are a handful of Democrats who wouldn't do it.
That includes top Democrats like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who said while she supports the commission, she will not bring the bill to the floor for a vote.
It's a big step. It's not out of the question. It has been done before in the history of our country a long time ago.
Now, without Pelosi's support, it's unclear what happens now. Meanwhile, Democrats have been considering a barrage of other options to offset Trump appointees, like term limits on the bench, a code of ethics, and expanding the lower courts. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Tara. And joining us now, Carrie Severino, president of the Judicial Crisis Network. Carrie, it's great to have you with us this evening. So Speaker Pelosi says she won't bring this bill to the floor, but it doesn't end there because she wants to wait and see what the commission brings forward. Carrie, where does this go from here?
Yeah, well, the commission that Biden has proposed is really just a fig leaf, effectively, to cover what it seems to be the direction he wants to go, even though Biden himself acknowledged decades ago that the idea of packing the court was a boneheaded idea, as he put it, that showed that when FDR tried to do it, it was because he was corrupted by power. Now, because there's such a major pressure campaign and push from the deepest pockets on the dark money left, they're moving in that direction. The commission is really just designed to give cover, to give an academic veneer to this project that really is conceived out of the most extreme groups on the left and out of the several dozen members of the committee. It's overwhelmingly liberal. There's just a handful of moderate Republicans for kind of window dressing. But I think we know what the commission's going to say. It's going to say we need to go as fast forward toward getting more Democrat appointees on the courts as possible.
You said before she died, Justice Ginsburg said that she was against court packing. Just a few weeks ago, we also heard Justice Breyer warn against it. Carrie, you talk about the commission and its makeup, but do you think there is actually any chance it would recommend expanding the court? What do you foresee?
Oh, I think it's a foregone conclusion, given the membership of the commission. It includes radicals like Larry Tribe, who is the person who invented the idea of borking Robert Bork and blocking Supreme Court nominees through that dishonest campaign, who invented the idea of filibustering appellate judges. So there's no question that the commission will give the recommendation that they believe is the most liberal one, possibly politically feasible at the time. And unfortunately, we're seeing people really pushing the envelope for what is politically feasible. So if they think they can get it done, there's absolutely going to be pressure to get that court packed. And I think that handful of Republican members is going to be no obstacle to that kind of extreme proposal.
So if the commission does do what you're saying it does that put more pressure on President Biden then to actually support this? In the past, he hasn't, as you mentioned.
Well, in the past, decades ago, he hasn't. And frankly, 1 year ago, he didn't support it. But we've seen a huge sea change over that year. I think the real secret to the change isn't pressure from a commission. It's pressure from the people who helped put him in office. We know that there were historic levels of donations to Biden's campaign, over $145 million from liberal dark money groups. And it was these same groups that even before Biden was the nominee, were putting pressure on all Democratic nominees to support the notion of court packing. So this is something that goes, the pressure that's been going for over a year now on him. And I think thus far what we've seen is he is not doing a very good job of standing up to this pressure when you have the big dark money that put him in office that is asking for payback for those kind of donations to his campaign.
So House Democrats, they were out making their case today, Carrie. Among other things, they said the far right hijacked the court thanks to norm-breaking moves by Mitch McConnell, and that expanding the court is necessary to restore balance and integrity. Is there any merit to this argument?
I understand that Democrats are frustrated that President Trump had 4 years of him nominating judges and a GOP-led Senate that was confirming nominees. I understand that they're frustrated that the American people allowed Trump to take office and to then fill Scalia's seat rather than having Merrick Garland fill that seat. However, that is no excuse for trashing the institution of the court. This would be such a radical move and trigger such dangerous political tit for tats that even people like Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg herself, like Justice Breyer, like Bernie Sanders, of all people, have acknowledged court packing would trigger a very dangerous one-way ratchet of making the court bigger and bigger each time power changed in Washington. So it's a horrible idea. It's a bonehead idea, as Biden had said, and always has been.
All right. Well, Carrie Severino with the Judicial Crisis Network, we have to leave it there, but we always love having you on. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
Meanwhile, news from Pfizer tonight about the COVID-19 vaccine. The company announcing today a third dose will likely be needed within 12 months of being fully vaccinated. And for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, today we learned a 7th woman experienced blood clots. The CDC director weighing in on the vaccine setback in a congressional hearing.
Vaccine safety is a top priority, and we take all reports of adverse events following COVID-19 vaccination seriously. As announced earlier this week, CDC and FDA recommended a pause in administering the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
U.S. health officials maintain there are no signs of unusual clotting side effects with the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. More than 122 million Americans have received at least one vaccine dose. And turning overseas tonight, in the wake of President Biden's announcement to end America's longest war, the Secretary of State made a surprise visit to Afghanistan. Secretary Antony Blinken seeking to convince Afghan leaders that the U.S. remains committed to the country after 20 years of war.
There is no military solution to the conflict that remains here. The only path forward to a durable, lasting, and just end to the conflict is through negotiation, is through a political agreement, and ultimately is through compromise.
And Secretary Blinken also paid tribute to the courage and sacrifice of U.S. and allied troops. Well, the planned troop withdrawal has some lawmakers up in arms. CBN News chief political analyst David Brody spoke with Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who says the Taliban is the winner in this deal.
Senator, Afghanistan, let's talk about that. What's the Taliban thinking right about now regarding the move by the Biden administration?
They're licking their chops. They would be dancing. They just don't believe in dancing. Radical Islam has had a good couple of months under Biden. The border is completely broken. How easy would it be for a terrorist to intermingle among all the illegal immigrants coming here and sneak into the border? We found 4 or 5 on the terrorist watch list. Afghanistan, the military advised President Biden, we need a residual counterterrorism force until the Taliban can be more trusted, until the Afghan military can be more capable. I know 20 years is a long time, but these people were devastated. Here's what I worry about. What have we learned? That if you give radical Islam safe haven and sanctuary to plan and plot, they will attack you. What happened after we left Iraq? ISIS came about. They took over parts of Iraq and Syria, and they attacked people in France, the United States, everywhere. So it's been a good day for the Taliban. They're not in compliance with the conditions set by Trump for us to withdraw, but Biden wants to end the war before the 20th anniversary for political reasons. I think he's going to regret this. He's been wrong about most everything, but our military is very worried, and the intelligence community, that Afghanistan will fold and ISIS and Al-Qaeda will come roaring back, and they're one of the biggest winners of all this.
And David also spoke about the troop withdrawal with the number 2 Republican in the Senate, Senator John Thune from South Dakota.
Well, let me start with this. First on Afghanistan, I guess the bottom line is what's going to happen here? Is this the right move by President Biden to fully pull out all of our troops?
It is not the right move. I think it's a big mistake. I know there's a lot of pressure from the left in this country to get out of Afghanistan, but we have a lot invested there over a long period of time. And the one thing that we don't want to do is create the conditions there that are favorable for terrorist organizations to train and prepare and plan attacks against the United States. And the one thing that the question they can't answer is what happens with the Taliban if they're back in charge in Afghanistan. These decisions need to be conditions-based, David. They need to be based on what's happening on the ground, not artificial timelines. We've said that repeatedly. And we don't have a big force there right now, but we haven't lost lives there of late. But we need to maintain an adequate force to ensure that all the gains that we've achieved there these past many years, which have come at great sacrifice, both in the form of loss of lives and injuries to a lot of American servicemen and women, that those are not in vain.
All right, thank you, David, for those great interviews. And coming up, having trouble keeping track of all the wasteful spending in Congress? Look no further. The annual Pig Book is hot off the press.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch. Thanks for joining us. Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
The former police officer who shot and killed 20-year-old Dante Wright at a traffic stop made her first court appearance today. 26-year police veteran Kim Potter is charged with second-degree manslaughter and tonight is out on bail. Meanwhile, protests continue in the streets of Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. This is video from last night. Hundreds of people taking to the streets demanding justice. After the initially peaceful crowd turned unruly, officers used tear gas and made several arrests. And in nearby Minneapolis, the jury in the Derek Chauvin murder trial is heading into a long weekend ahead of closing arguments Monday. The defense now joining the prosecution in resting its case, marking an end to testimony. This after the former Minneapolis police officer charged in the death of George Floyd chose not to testify on his own behalf.
Have you made a decision today whether you intend to testify or whether you intend to invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege?
I will invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege today.
And taking the witness stand would have left Chauvin open to cross-examination by the prosecution. Well, there's good news finally in the economy as retail sales jump and jobless claims drop. Jobless claims are at an all-time pandemic low after seeing an increase amid the recovery the previous week. 613,000 people last week filed first-time unemployment claims. Still high, but a decrease of 153,000 from the previous week. All this as retail sales saw a 9.8% jump last month. The positive signs have some economists hoping and predicting an economic boom. Government spending and waste. A new report shows how Congress can misuse your taxpayer dollars, and some of it will leave you shaking your head. CBN's Paul Strand did some digging into the newly released PIG report.
A number of lawmakers still concerned about spending and deficits joined in a virtual news conference to highlight out-of-control spending they say could eventually bankrupt America.
There's a dirty little secret in this town, and there's a consensus that says spending and debt just don't matter.
The 2021 PIG book highlights some of Capitol Hill's latest cases of wasteful spending. $1.7 billion for 17 F-35 jet fighters not even requested by the Pentagon. $663,000 to help wipe out the brown tree snake. $19.7 million handed over to the East-West Center in Hawaii, though there was no formal budget request for it. Tom Schatz, who oversees the annual PIG book, points out after a supposed 10-year ban, these wasteful earmark projects have returned, but in disguise.
The new earmarks are called community project funding, an absurd designation that covers almost everything the government does.
Senator Rand Paul points out the PIG book says these pork barrel projects are back with a vengeance.
It highlights 285 earmarks costing $16.8 billion.
For far too long, earmarks have been used as a form of legal bribery, enabling party bosses to pass irresponsible and bloated spending that has ballooned government spending and added to our staggering $28 trillion national debt.
And they warn that much worse is still ahead, thanks to President Biden's massive infrastructure bill.
$2 trillion plus. The number keeps growing.
Only about 6% will go for things like roads and bridges, while the rest covers a wide range.
On silly things like a squirrel sanctuary in Tennessee, or turtle tunnels in Florida, and critter crossings in Vermont.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians in
Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
And welcome back. Tonight, Congressman Dan Crenshaw of Texas is asking for your prayers. The Republican will be effectively blind for a month after emergency eye surgery Friday. Doctors decided to operate after his retina was detaching from Crenshaw's left eye. In a statement from Crenshaw, this is a terrifying prognosis for someone with one eye and the nature of the injuries I sustained in Afghanistan. The former Navy SEAL adding, "I have gotten through worse before and I will get through this." And we certainly wish him the best. Anti-Semitism continues to be a serious problem across Europe. The Anti-Defamation League, in a partnership with the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, has new research out this week detailing the rising tide of hate against European Jews. As George Thomas reports, the coronavirus pandemic has only fueled the problem.
Joining me to discuss challenges facing the Jewish community in Europe is Gary Bauer, a member of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. Mr. Bauer, thank you so much for coming on. The Commission has a new report out this week that takes a closer look at the levels of anti-Semitism in 11 European countries. The central question that you wanted to know was, are Jews able to live openly and freely as Jews in whatever manner they wish? What did you find?
Well, it's sadly it's a mixed picture. The study was done by the Anti-Defamation League on behalf of USERF. As you said, it looked at 11 countries. We've all known for a number of years now that anti-Semitism has been growing throughout Europe. It's on the radical right, on the radical left, comes from radical Islam, and even in some cases, sadly, it comes out of the church in some parts of Europe. We're finding some countries do a great job at confronting this and prosecuting anti-Semitic crimes, but other countries, including Russia, Ukraine, France, Poland, are still lagging behind in their efforts to deal with this ancient evil.
Tell us, what is fueling this rising tide of anti-Jewish sentiment?
Well, it's a number of things. Certainly in 2020, which is what we were looking at, ironically, the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, was used as an excuse by anti-Semites to engage in this sort of historic myth-making about Jews being behind every terrible thing that happens. So literally, we've seen throughout the world, and including in Europe, these ancient tropes that somehow the coronavirus was caused by Jews or caused by Israel, and similar themes which are really disgusting, sickening, but nonetheless do gain traction.
Is there any indication that this is forcing Jewish Europeans to leave the continent as a result of this rising tide of hate?
Yes, there is evidence of that. Now, some countries, as I said, are doing well. Norway, for example, which only has about 1,200 Jews, nonetheless is enforcing their laws in a very good way, and the Jewish community there feels very much assured by that. But there are other places like France and some of the Eastern European countries, Germany, where the Jewish community feels very much under threat, and there has been increasing Jewish migration out of Europe to other countries around the world, or to the Jewish homeland of Israel, as those Jews look for a place where they can feel safe.
What's America's role in helping combat anti-Semitism in Europe?
Well, American foreign policy can play a role around the world on this issue. We can encourage our European allies to take this issue seriously. We want to encourage the governments of those countries, the elected officials, to speak out whenever there are examples of anti-Semitic activity going on. We can't do the job for the European governments, but we can set a standard. And of course, here in our own country, we need to not be hypocrites. We need to speak up, whether we're on the political left, the political right, wherever we happen to identify with. We need to speak up against anti-Semitism and the movements that we identify with, to make sure that we're showing a good example to the rest of the world.
All right. With that, we'll have to leave it right there. Commissioner Bauer, as always, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Good to be with you.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link. Tuesday morning at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Finally tonight, UFO sightings becoming more common during the pandemic. And now the Pentagon is confirming a few of them are authentic. U.S. Navy officials used night vision to capture video of pyramid-shaped objects buzzing over Navy warships off the coast of Southern California. The bizarre encounter is part of a report on unidentified aerial phenomenon. The task force says it points to something more mysterious than just a foreign military drone. The report will be presented to Congress this summer and will educate military officials about the nature of UFOs. All right, it's pretty interesting and cool video. Thank you so much for joining us this night, everybody. Have a great evening.